Invisible Voices in Poverty, the Consequences of Transgender Discrimination and Fight for Policy Protection. Imagine being called it, stripped of your identity, humiliated, and dehumanized. That is exactly what Trudy Kitzmiller and countless transgender individuals experience on a daily basis. Trudy was denied a new driver's license because she was told to remove all her makeup, jewelry, and wig before she could get a new picture taken. Her current old driver's license has her incorrect name and photo that doesn't even look like me. This horrifying treatment should never be experienced, and we need to fight to bring awareness to these situations so that change can be made. Transgender individuals are often brushed aside or grouped with LGBT individuals despite their lack of protection through current LGBTQ+ anti-discrimination legislation. This leads to significant disproportionate rates of poverty, increased negative mental and physical health, and gender dysphoria, showcasing the importance of increased advocacy and awareness on the severity and importance of this topic, and federal laws protecting the rights of transgender individuals in equal opportunities and access to employment, healthcare, and bodily integrity. In today's fight for LGBTQ+ rights, there is often a significant barrier between people who are transgender and those who are LGBT. Transgender individuals face hostility and discrimination within the LGBTQ+ community, as they are outcasted from political priorities and policy change. Transgender individuals only make up 1.6% of LGBTQ+ elected officials in the U.S., showcasing how little of a voice the transgender community has in spreading awareness on their experiences, discrimination, and the shortcomings of LGBTQ+ rights and policies. As a result, the transgender community is disproportionately affected by poverty and is constantly being overlooked in conversations about LGBTQ+ rights. Focusing on transgender voices and looking to preserve their inherent rights and freedoms through legislation is essential. Current federal legislation regarding sex-based discrimination does not explicitly include transgender individuals, which in turn does not protect them from discrimination in areas like employment, healthcare, education, etc. This explains their increased rates of poverty compared to their cisgendered counterparts and shows how important new legislation is. In the United States, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is the current legislation that prohibits any discrimination on the basis of sex, originally referring solely to a person's biological sex. However, in 2020, the Supreme Court case Bostick v. Clayton County found this definition to extend to homosexuality and transgender status. However, there is often confusion about how this explicitly protects transgender individuals, and having new, clear federal legislation, like the Equality Act, would codify this case's definition of sex, leaving no room for interpretation. However, in February 2021, the Equality Act, which sought to add to current legislation and clearly protect sexual orientation and gender identity from discrimination across areas such as employment, housing, credit, education, etc., did not pass Congress despite being passed by the House. Many objections to its passing revolve around concerns of limiting religious freedom because the Equality Act would prevent businesses from discriminating against LGBTQ+ individuals based on religious objections. Many conservative establishments fear that the law would complicate interpretations of the First Amendment, which states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This argument may be relevant to specific cases of discrimination against individuals based on their religion, such as the 2022 Kennedy v. Bremerton School District case, where football coach Joseph A. Kennedy was unlawfully fired for praying at the 50-yard line immediately after games, and the court ruled his conduct protected by the First Amendment. However, this reasoning falls short when discussing the Equality Act. The Equality Act does not explicitly discriminate against the religious rights of individuals, but works to ensure that LGBTQ+ individuals are protected for their gender identity. Philosopher John Locke's Second Treatise of Government discusses this idea, explaining the importance of protecting one's liberties, but that one's liberties ends where another's begin. In essence, we can protect the rights of individuals until they infringe on others' basic rights and protections. In this case, the Equality Act would ensure the protection of LGBTQ+ individuals from their rights being violated at the expense of others. This way, religious rights and LGBTQ+ rights are protected against discrimination, and transgender individuals have a better chance at obtaining and keeping jobs. using public facilities and services, and fighting disproportionate rates of poverty without worrying about being discriminated against for something that is out of their control and a pivotal part of their identity. Lack of clarity in federal legislation is significantly affecting transgender individuals' right towards fair equality of opportunity, especially in workplaces. Even if transgender individuals have the same skills and qualifications, they are often disproportionately unemployed because of arbitrary discrimination. The 2022 KFF Washington Post Trans Survey includes interviews of 515 transgender and gender nonconforming individuals and 828 cisgender adults for comparison, specifically looking to offer insights on their experiences in the healthcare system. Their survey showed that 8% of non-transgender individuals faced unemployment, compared to 18% of transgender individuals. This disparity in employment is almost entirely a result of discrimination. In 2020, the Center for American Progress designed a study interviewing 1,528 LGBTQ adults aged 18 and older to look closely at discrimination in a variety of fields. It found that while 1/3 of LGBTQ+ Americans expressed discrimination that moderately or significantly affected their capacity to be hired, more than half of transgender individuals expressed this sentiment. John Rawls's fair equality of opportunity principle fights for fairness, looking for everyone to have the same opportunities to pursue a career. But without explicit anti-discrimination laws, individuals do not have equal resources to combat unemployment, and in turn, poverty. Not only does this blatantly disrespect transgender individuals who are subject to unequal opportunities, but it puts more pressure on the U.S. government to provide aid and benefits to individuals who could otherwise thrive on their own. Even when transgender individuals are hired, they are often unprotected from discrimination at work, and this can result in significant mistreatment and/or job loss. 2/3 of transgender individuals reported changing the way they dressed, their mannerisms at work to avoid discrimination. Transgender individuals are often forced to hide parts of their identity in order to feel safe in workplaces, a basic thing that everyone should feel in a professional setting. No one should ever feel ashamed, ridiculed, or face job insecurity for who they are. Moreover, transgender individuals, in addition to mistreatment and discrimination, often experience unemployment because of their lack of protection. The 2022 U.S. Transgender Survey is currently the largest and most comprehensive survey geared towards showcasing transgender and non-binary experiences. The survey has 92,329 respondents and clearly shows the serious consequences of discrimination that transgender individuals face. More than 1 in 10 respondents who had ever held a job said they had been fired, forced to resign, lost the job, or been laid off because of their gender identity or expression. This social discrimination goes beyond the financial well-being of an individual, but can take a serious toll on the mental health of transgender employees. Compared to 20% of LGBTQ+ individuals, 2/3 of transgender individuals reported that discrimination moderately or significantly affected their psychological well-being, as well as nearly half reporting moderate or significant physical impacts. The direct disrespect for the physical and mental health of individuals shows how pressing this matter is to the safety of the transgender community. Poverty goes beyond a person's finances and applies to safety, mental health, and well-being. Martha Nussbaum's list of central capabilities discusses ideas of bodily health, bodily integrity, and control over one's environment, showcasing the importance of autonomy, the safety of one's body, and equal access to employment. In order to combat poverty, one needs to understand the financial aspect and the capabilities aspect. Prioritizing the well-being and safety of individuals should be a top priority, and new legislation can protect transgender individuals from a lot of structural discrimination that occurs in public and work environments. In terms of income-related poverty, transgender individuals facing this workplace discrimination are significantly more at risk of unemployment. In a 2021 study done by the Human Rights Campaign Foundation, nearly 7,000 full-time employees working over 35 hours a week were surveyed about their income. Compared to typical workers, defined as the median wage for all workers in the U.S., The study found that LGBTQ plus individuals earn 89 cents for every dollar the typical worker earns. Comparatively, transgender individuals earn 70 cents for every dollar, showcasing once again why the need for federal legislation needs to be passed for LGBTQ plus individuals, and especially transgender individuals. Both communities are in need of anti-discrimination legislation to minimize this gap, but transgender individuals are often less advocated for due to their minute political representation. In order to treat transgender individuals with the basic equal rights they inherently deserve and minimize not only their poverty rates but also the hateful discrimination received, new legislation needs to be created to protect the transgender community. This issue is beyond simply finding a solution to poverty. It is about treating transgender individuals humanely and respectfully. As previously mentioned, transgender individuals are disproportionately affected by unemployment, which in turn significantly impacts their poverty rates. As a result of unemployment and financial burdens due to workplace discrimination, transgender individuals also face discrimination by healthcare providers. Many face the decision between receiving medical treatment and either sustaining discrimination because of their gender identity or high costs for care. Transgender individuals reported that they had postponed or avoided medical care when they were sick or injured, 51%, or had avoided or postponed preventative screening, 40%, because of the high costs, compared to 29% and 25% of LGBTQ plus individuals. This shows how detrimental unemployment rates are to the bodily health of the transgender community, and why having federal legislation to protect their rights would significantly boost multiple aspects of individuals' lives beyond income. Transgender individuals are constantly being affected by discrimination in all facets of life. Outside of discrimination specifically within employment, transgender people also face significant discrimination in healthcare, as 15% of LGBTQ Americans report postponing or avoiding medical treatment due to discrimination. Transgender individuals are more at risk, with nearly 30% scared of receiving discrimination. Some people might assume that this discrimination is mild or dramatic, but no one should be deterred from getting medical care because they are scared of receiving harsh or abusive language, 19% of transgender individuals report. Doctors or providers being physically rough or abusive, 20%, or being refused service at all because of their actual or perceived gender identity, 18%. The obstacles that transgender individuals face in order to fight for their right to receive proper medical care are horrifying and can significantly affect a person's physical and mental health. Not only that, but many doctors are uneducated about transgender individuals, with 1 in 3 having to teach their doctor about transgender individuals in order to receive appropriate care. This treatment, or lack thereof, is so far from the basic capabilities Nussbaum claims humans inherently deserve, such as bodily health, and shows just how hurtful the lack of clear anti-discrimination legislation can be to the transgender community. Spreading awareness of these conditions might help the public gain a clearer understanding of how transgender individuals are being treated, and perhaps gain traction for the Equality Act to pass. What makes the topic of healthcare discrimination especially troubling for transgender individuals, beyond them being disproportionately affected by poverty and discrimination, is the negative effect it can have on their mental health and access to gender-affirming medical care. Transgender people are often denied medical care, such as surgery for their transition, 43%, or hormone therapy, 38%, by their health insurance companies. Now, many people often view gender-affirming medical care and surgery as elective and not necessary, especially when in 2022, according to the U.S. Census Bureau and based on the OPM, there were almost 38 million Americans living in poverty and struggling to afford necessities such as food, water, shelter, etc. This contractual idea of helping the most burdened is a very valid viewpoint and greatly applies to financial legislation regarding government aid and benefits. However, when discussing the expansion and clarity of legislation that does not regard any extra government spending and is purely looking for protections for transgender individuals so that they may feel safe in workplaces and while receiving medical care, I do not find this view to be particularly relevant. Poverty is so much more than a person's financial situation and being able to survive. It is about truly living a decent life. With limited access to safe gender-affirming medications and surgery, transgender individuals can face severe emotional and physiological distress, proving to be problematic for their mental health. Gender dysphoria is a serious disorder, and advocacy needs to be more apparent in society for people to understand its severity. In the 2022 U.S. Transgender Survey, out of over 86,000 interviews, 79% stated that after transitioning genders, they were a lot more satisfied with their life. Additionally, 84% stated the same satisfaction after receiving hormone treatment, and 88% had the same sentiment regarding gender-affirming surgery. Gender-affirming medical care is so important to the lives and health of transgender individuals. Spreading awareness of its importance can make more individuals understand the need for federal protection of the rights of the transgender community, and can perhaps make legislation more politically feasible if more people are aware and support prioritizing the health of individuals. Bringing more light to the situation can also lessen some of the social prejudices and discrimination transgender individuals face, which may decrease negative mental health and poverty rates as individuals gain more positive social status. The majority of this paper has focused on transgender adults. However, transgender youth face unique issues surrounding discrimination rates, poverty, and mental health. A 2020 study on suicidality among transgender youth showed that 82% of transgender individuals have considered killing themselves and 40% have attempted suicide. Awareness surrounding the mental health of transgender youth is often lacking, yet understanding gender identity and how it often connects with having access to gender-affirming healthcare is so crucial to lowering these percentages. A 2018 study on mental health outcomes of 104 transgender youth receiving gender-affirming care showed 60% lower odds of depression and 73% lower odds of suicidality among youth who initiated puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones compared to those who did not. We can see that having this access can make such a big difference to the mental health and physical well-being of transgender youth. Some people argue that creating legislation such as the Equality Act might go above the rights of parents and give medical access to anyone, rushing youth into decisions that they may come to regret. However, this same argument regarding parental rights could be said about why medical access should be available. Parents should have the final say on what their children should be able to do and have access to, and legislation like the Equality Act would simply allow everyone to have access to them, so that parents and transgender individuals would have all their options available. Federal anti-discrimination legislation protecting the rights of transgender individuals is crucial to their mental and physical well-being. Poverty is so much more than someone's income. It is about their capabilities regarding bodily health and autonomy, having the same opportunities as everyone else, and feeling safe in their own body as well as in their community. The workplace should be a place where people can focus, not where individuals are scared of being verbally or physically harassed. Everyone should feel protected from discrimination, and this should be our top priority when discussing ways to lower poverty rates for transgender individuals.